Hello everybody, it's Natalie here. Here we are in the fifth chakra, the right to speak our truth. So when we think about sound, we're thinking about getting all of this information out of this little pipe, this little spot, and yet it's just such a gift to be able to speak our truth, to recognize that at times we needed to lie or be lied to for protection. Or maybe it was to protect others who were harming us. I want you to know that I am sending love and I'm so sorry for any pain that you've had to endure. I'm not saying that I feel sorry for you. I feel grateful for you. I feel sorry for your for your wounds. I feel grateful to be here in this practice with you as well. I feel grateful to be here with me. And in being in more parts of me now. So I'm just going to come take a little pillow to sit comfy with you. And I'm just even noticing, well, that one doesn't feel right. How much do we just muster through? Do we take some extra time to say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable. Can we have a minute? Can I actually just get a different seat or just quietly get up and get what we need instead of just sitting there and taking it? Okay, this seems right. I'm just stocking up the blocks and coming in. This beautiful song here, I Am. I just wanted to share a little bit of this part of my truth with you as we enjoy the right to speak our truth in the shadow of lies. I'm thinking about harmony and creativity here, resonance, cohesiveness. What does truth mean to you? What does it mean to me? So, in ways that we do this, I'd like to ask you, take an hour for yourself. If that's like way too much, okay, take 5 minutes. Take little bits. 20 minutes a day is what we talked about, and we can just do that in bits and pieces. And so in the fifth chakra, you've learned some of the stretches, making some noise, noticing how that feels, noticing when you're in a situation, if someone's saying something and there's something you want to say and it can't come out. What happens next? Do you push it away? Do you get louder? Do you get quiet? Do you change the subject? Do you defend? Do you leave the room? Do you put food in? Do you just tuck yourself so far away? We're just connecting in here. So we're going to do a little practice here together. Some of you have done this already with me. Then I want to ask you to just journal a little bit, or pop a record button, or write something down, or just sit in quiet. Listen to some music and see how long can you sit with yourself in quiet. I need a real aversion to having to write down and journal, because I would just see that I'm just like documenting the day instead of being able to come in and connect to my truth. So I want you to just start swinging your arms. You don't have to swing too hard. Not so much in the fire. Ooh, we're in the sound. And as we're doing this, I want you to just start, maybe it's like you're cross-country skiing, or you're on the elliptical. Just start doing that. Notice that you're holding your breath. Keep doing it. I'm just going to turn. Are you holding your breath? Wow. Maybe you make a little noise. All right, maybe that's what needs to happen. You're still swinging. And now here we are. Here, I got to get into pattern with you guys. I got to catch up. Now, repeat. Get. Come on. Off. Now we're going to start pulling. My. Back. Here we go. Get. Off. My. Back. Like wings. Get. Off. My. Back. Maybe this is bringing up some emotion. Just keep saying it as I'm doing it. Or maybe you have to go slow. Maybe it's get. Off. My back. Oh, I can even feel it already. What's going on there in your wings? I call them my Bridget wings. My mother's name was Bridget, up in heaven, Bridget. This is one of the beings that is connected to this chakra in spiritual sense. Interesting, huh? So I call these my Bridget wings. Oh my gosh, I had such back pain, and always right here, you know, the grief tucked behind the back, but what I was not allowing myself to speak. And now I feel like in my truth and moving through, and the time that I've been able to connect with my mom, but to be here and not fight her as she was transitioning, and I've shared that in this video, in this series. I held myself. We talk about the pelvic ball. We talk about the hands and the way that we can hold ourselves. Maybe we even try it here. I just held myself. I don't think I was held a lot when I was very little. My mom was a loving, wonderful, awesome woman. Lots of trauma. I've shared with you my story. Are you wrapping some arms around yourself right now? Are you doing that? Maybe that doesn't feel right to you. Maybe you're surrendering in this way. Hands back. Just really. And then maybe you can sink in. This is more of a mongoose. You can turn your hands, fingers pointed forward or back, or even on fists, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm lifted up a little bit. This actually feels nice. And stretching out, but now caving in. Maybe your feet go straight out, resting. This is more of a mongoose, so we can stretch out more in mermaid. Come in. Come all the way in. Give yourself a break. Give your throat some rest. Maybe not in choking. I often find myself like this. When I get to work one-on-one with my clients, I know their body is really protecting still. So we're just stretching that comfort zone, maybe coming in and support. Maybe this feels too much. Come on around the back. I worked with a beautiful healer, and she used to always say, I want to be like a kitty and pick you up in the back of your neck, Natalie, like a little loving mama kitty. And I used to think, oh, that's so like mushy, and like in the past I'd be like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, pick me up, pick me up. So here, let's do it together. Put your hands back here. And I'm not here saying that any of the people who loved us did not do their very best. Oh my God, my mother's my hero. But lots of wounds. And so I've shared with you, take our fingers, we're going to do a little bit of work here as I talk a little with cleaned hands, just because always the esthetician will be thinking of your face. We're just going to come down here, your ears. I'm going to ask you to come and like grit your teeth, and you'll feel, kind of squeeze your teeth back and forth. You can feel the pulsating. Come to that space. We're just going to do these nice circles towards the front of the room and around. Kind of like when we work on the feet. So I'm leaning on my knees. I'm letting my feet support me. I'm not totally collapsing in. And I'm noticing, right, my lifeline, my spine. Asking you to just keep making some noise. And I'm just going to do a little sharing. Maybe you want to share a little bit of your truth. 7 to 12 years old where we're here. Maybe you want to rotate your hands now. So it was around this time things started getting really heated up in my life. My mother started acting very, very strange. And, an understanding, maybe you're just pressure pointing now, what was happening with her. Oh, that feels good. She was trying to, I don't want to say avenge, but find out the truth of what really happened to my dad. Now I'm just walking up the pressure points at the sides of my face. Feels so nice. We're just going to come behind the ear. So we're working in the throat system here. Now 2-finger pressure. Because here, and then walking down the neck. It's our endocrine system. Right here, right, we talk about the nervous system, talk about the endocrine system, and this relationship to the chakras, the energy bodies, and into our system, integumentary system, and the skin and the nervous system. So you're getting the patterns. I'm just walking up. I'm walking up here. I will finish my story, but I really want this to be a therapeutic process for you as well. And we're working in this specific belt, 5th chakra, right? Okay, so now let's just do a little more of that. And I don't want to say too much of my story as you're in here finding your own truth, but I think it's important. Now you've got the nice pressure points that you can walk through. Oh, right above the ear too. My mother was working with a private investigator to try to find my father's remains. Right? We were told that he died of a brain tumor. Now we're just stretching here, just coming in here. That's what we were told. But my mother knew differently. She was protecting her children. And in all that holding and protecting, all of that holding and protecting out of her son and her daughter, and not reaching to her beautiful family in Ireland because she didn't want them to know. She held all this secret in. And only the private investigator, whose sister was gravely injured by the same individuals that killed my father, and my father, he was in a lifestyle that led to that. I don't want to say that anybody deserves the horrible, horrible treatment that my father got. I would never say that to anybody. I just want to be speaking in truth. I'm going to ask you just to start working your fingers here. And I'm sharing a story with you because when we speak in our emotional body, really thinking about our endocrine system and in the way that we respond, here in communication, this is where our feel sense of response comes. In the fight, in the flight, in the collapse, in the fold, in the freeze. I hope you're working. You can see the pattern that I'm connecting here, right? And now I'm kind of cross-crawling to really start smoothing out. You might want to just stay right on one side. I like to just kind of expand, expand, expand. So coming back to what feels nice to you, that's what kind of was going on here in my first developmental process of 7 to 12. Not perfect, but in this time, I kind of feel like for me, we'll move up to the next chakras. I feel like a lot of my stuff still even in relationship to kind of almost maybe like 13, 14-ish. I just can feel that sense when I talk here because I get very, I can fight and defend for anyone, try to save and protect. But for me, my nervous system and my shadow really helped me significantly. Just pull up and keep going to be the best I could be because I sensed that things were going to fall apart. And so in thinking about how we hold ourselves when we look at our spine, our pelvis, our internal organs being supported and held by our rib cage, this protected heart, our soul's truth. And then in looking here, when we think about what holds up our neck, and in these little fine support systems here, these tendons, these muscles, this is a beautiful, what we're working on here, this is beautiful muscular session here that I love to do. We think about the sternum mastocoides, this like very interrelated group of muscles. And then for me with shingles, as I've shared, very related to my trigeminal nerve. That's what goes on with me. So it's the way that our body holds, responds. So my mother had all this stuff going on while supporting us as a waitress, doing her best, keeping the secret, locking it in, and not being able to really like have anybody to tell her truth to. Her family in Ireland are a beautiful, beautiful family. They didn't really even know that my father was brutally murdered, even until like recently, one or two of them. Really, that was really like just didn't know, and there was different level of communication, and to protect my mother probably, no one wanted to push too much. She stayed very quiet, moved here at 16, and by the time she was 27, 2 children, and her one and only love, the only man she ever loved, was gone. And she just kept moving through. And right around around 12, 13, my mother drove us up to Massachusetts. She got my brother, she got me. It's a very interesting story. And she told us that we were about to go to my father's funeral. That's the truth. We were like, what? She let us know. My brother thought that maybe he was alive. My brother sensed more than I did. 2.5 years older than me. It's a difference. See, it feels nice when I'm talking, and when you're talking and you're journaling, move some of the energy. I don't want it to get stuck here, and I don't want my stuff to get stuck on you. We don't want Velcro with the we want Teflon, and the Velcro can be this part. Me saying to you that I'm here in all my ways, because I had all these systems that helped me, and in doing the healing work and in touching, I realized how much I couldn't be touched. In speaking and hearing other stories, I realized how much I was not able to stay with my second chakra wound. I always came to the fifth. And in the fifth chakra, my mother told us we were having this funeral. We went, and we needed to pretend like it had just happened. And it's like, there was a book written about my dad, one chapter. This is my story to you. I remember my brother looked at me and he was like, my God, this is really gonna bleep us up. And I looked at him and I was like, you don't think we already are? And we both just giggled. And at that time, it was like all that was going on was the Wednesday after school special. That was like the trauma kids. And meanwhile, my brother and I, we blew past that. Now at this day and age, we have more information. We have more truth. People are able to speak more. So I don't feel like it's as, well, it's my story. But I did not share it in its entirety until recently. But I did share it with my husband. When we went on our first real date, I decided this is it. I'm done. I'm not doing this. I'm just going to get real. And on our first date, I just told him the whole story. It was not easy. And the reason that after 30 years and trying to push him away 3 times before we got engaged, he's still my number one everything. When I told him the whole story, I looked up and he was crying. And no one had ever done that. I had never been able to tell my whole story and then have someone just cry and say, I'm so sorry. And it's not that all of my awesome friends wouldn't have wanted to do that, but they were just so worried about me as well. They wanted to help me get strong, push through, and we didn't even know all the story. But at this stage, I had enough. And I shared it with John, and see that? And now I can get that? And that's real. What I'm sharing with you is my truth, and this is real. And I can feel always the right side, the masculine energy, it pulls up right in my hip. It goes, and I soften. So the way in which I was able to really start moving through this is through a creative process. And I'm going to ask you guys, do the get off my back. Notice it. Notice what it feels like. Jot it down. If you do not want to jot it down, just take a minute and just be with yourself, maybe in quiet. I told you I ran for 10 years so I could figure out how I meditated. I have to get on the elliptical. My energy body will always be so much charge in here. I was born into crime family, crime behaviors, and lots of secrets and lies from a mother who was trying to protect me and keep me safe. So that gets locked somewhere. And in finding in finding the love and in finding the truth, I'm thinking, where's your energy pattern? Where does it all go? How do these things happen for you? And even that music just came on like, and because I'm in my sympathetic, I'm able to respond here, and be able to feel my feelings. That nice bouncy music that I usually love was too much. I could feel it. My energy was like, so instead of tucking myself away and sucking up and just listening to the music, I stop and model this behavior. And I go back to music that feels softer. And I can tell you that I'm still noticing that people who love me are like, can we just keep going? Can we just go? But I can't do that. After I recognize that I need to slow my roll, feel my feelings, I just shared some really significant things with you. Came out from me. The I am, that's this beautiful song. The I am in here. I am in here. And that little girl is still in here. And she will always feel fear. She was born in fear, raised in fear. In fear, I think there's great strength for me as well. And I want to recognize that as well, but not have to come from fear. Even though they're still coming out, I'm sharing some stuff, and still secrets and lies, words protect us and keep us safe. You know? People were coming after my father because he did not such great things. And the circles in which he was all moving around, individuals I wish I could have helped then, and I hope somehow this trickles back. I know it's trickling for me. They just needed to slow their roll too. My mother, she did bury my father. We sat up there. My brother and I kept the story. Oh, thank God I had my brother. And I believe, thank God he had me. This really started to make us closer. We had a really tough childhood. It took a lot of anger out of me, and I took a lot of my emotions out on him. I wish he could have had more of the sad and the emotions. I think as an adult he really connects in. And I wish I could have had some of the anger. And I tell you now, I connect into that. Yes. I'm just so lucky and fortunate. I don't want to say lucky. Grateful. So I did the work to get here. And so, blowing it out. Maybe your story is different. Of course it's different. It's your story. And I'd like to share now, as I move through. I tried to push away a beautiful love. My husband, who sat in that picnic table with me as I shared a story that I had never said in its entirety. Looking up, and he felt for me. He saw me, and he felt for me. And before we were engaged, we were together for many years. And I pushed him away. He always says 3 times. I remember 2 significantly, but I hold his truth here. And he just kept coming and showing up, because he really believed in me. And I wasn't sure. How will I be a good partner? How can I be a mother? How can I do these things? All I know how to do is survive. And so in that moment of real, genuine love, I locked up. I've had few important people in my life. You know, I fell in love with my first love when I was very young, one in high school. Individuals who really, really had great value and meaning. And then I said yes to somebody, almost getting married to an individual that I think would have been very harmful for me. And I just kept moving through. But I couldn't really be seen, so I would push away individuals because I couldn't trust. I couldn't speak my truth. I was completely in the wound of protecting and surviving. My mother raised me to survive. You know, she gave me Aquanet, a butter knife, and a lighter. And when I was 7 and we would walk in case something was going on, she taught me how to make a flamethrower. I'm not even kidding. I might have shared this already with you. My mother was not this violent woman. She was this amazing woman, but she could throw down. She found her love, and she put him at rest, still wrapped in some lies. His tombstone doesn't match the real date and this date and oh my gosh, the whole thing. But she did it. And somewhere between driving home from that funeral and that summer, my mother left us. She got us to my grandmother's house, my father's mother that I didn't know very well, and I love her, and I didn't at that time know her at all. She took us away from all the people that we did love and know, and she brought us somewhere where she felt she'd be safe, we'd be safe. She got in the car, she pulled out the driveway in the middle of the night, and she never really came back. She came back in bits and pieces. We tried to live together again a few times, but often deep trauma, it takes away all of the natural opioids in your body, all the natural response systems, the feel-good hormones, so depleted because you were just pumping through with stress hormones. And this is when we talk about the endocrine system. We talk about speaking our truth, and I just gave you this massage that I hope that you'll consider doing. My mother became addicted to other substances. I never would have thought it imaginable. But then again, I never thought that the story that I've read about my father would be imaginable. Or that my mother, this woman from Ireland, who decided she didn't want to stay in Ireland, although she loved it because she wanted to be able to wear pants, have her own job, do her own things, choose who to love, what to do, and not be seen by your race, but to be seen by your wants, your needs, your truth, and who you are. But a lot of that was shifted for my mother due to trauma. And I think about that often when we think about addiction and we think about what is it that we are trying to calm in our body, what are we trying to detach from, push to, run away from. So I want to ask you to take all of that judgment that maybe has been placed on you, and I want you to get it off your back. And I want you to even consider, if you can't do the get off your back, push here. Get off my back. You can push it out. You can throw it away. You can push it and get it out. Hands, mouth, feet. That's how we discharge. Genitals as well, but that's not my video. Humor. I'd like to end this bit with some humor. I'm just filled with joy when I think about my mother. She's really the funniest person I've ever known. She didn't mind being laughed at, and she would laugh with anyone. My mother always reached down and pulled up. She struggled with asking to be pulled up, and me too. But when my beautiful husband came and proposed to me, after many years of being together, that was it. We realized now I just really needed to be able to trust. So we've been together almost 30 years. He's the one person in my entire life that's been with me longer than anybody besides myself. And doing this work can be very, it really takes away a lot of the enmeshment as you come to yourself, and you're coming back with more pieces, like almost taking yourself out of the puzzle without anybody asking. And then people want you to get back in the puzzle, but you don't fit in that puzzle anymore. So just want to ask you to consider in your relationships with your loved ones, with yourself, with your friends, with your family, with your employees or your job or whatever it is with you. Notice that holding yourself is so important, doing that work. But I'd like to ask you, when we give ourselves an effing break, I'd love you to consider giving others some time. And I think that's really important. I'm not asking you to tuck your truth away. I would never, ever do that. Maybe some relationships won't work in this way anymore the way they did. Or maybe we can just hold with compassion what we want. And as you're trusting and learning and really joining yourself, seeing more of the truth. And for me, seeing that my energy pattern is mine and the way that I vibrate around someone else, that's a me job. It's not so much a they job. And I've done that, you know. Not even the other day, I said to my husband, you know what, I feel like you're this and this and then realized, oh, I'm just giving your power away. You know, my husband was able to say, like, that's actually offending me a little bit. I'm not, and I was able to say, oh, thank you, honey. Yes, you're right. What's going on with you? I'm coming in like, I have to fix you or change you so I can be okay. Hold on. Coming here. What's going on, Nat? What do you need? And when we do the work, when I feel scared, which was how I was feeling, it makes me believe I have to fix everything. It makes me want to take care of everybody and do everything I can. It feels very connected to being abandoned. You know, I couldn't save my father, I couldn't protect my mother, and I couldn't stop her from leaving. But in her death, in the 5 months when she was very sick, and the 20 years in her, I'd say, sobriety and coming back, not pushing her to push past her trauma. Couldn't do it. She couldn't have survived it. Wouldn't have done it. Would not have done that. But what I could do was hold myself, put my hand out, and be with her in the best way that felt right. And sometimes that meant not being with her, and sometimes it meant staying with me and being able to be with her. And so in those moments, now still I can hear her. But I'm not ruled by hearing her. I hear her because she can resonate as she bounces off of my own vibration first. And so here we are. Purification. Visuddha. This is a long one right here, so I'm just going to let you sit with this. I'll come back with some tidbits and some work for us. Thank you for hearing my story. What is it you need? I needed to hear, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your grief. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry if you're sad. I'm sorry for your loneliness and your neglect and your dad. I'm sorry for your dad. I'm sorry for your mom. I'm sorry for your brother. I'm sorry for all of the joy and the hope and the love that didn't get to be. This exercise here, I want you to consider. What is it you needed to hear? Take a minute and connect it with yourself. You can send me a message. I'd like to say it back to you. Maybe you can ask someone you trust. Could you just say this to me? Could you just not ask me any questions? Could you just say this back to me? That's very hard. I want you to know. I'm struggling with that still. But try that, okay? Maybe you journal. Do the exercise that we talk about, the reflection exercise. Do the get off your back. Starting to just notice what comes up, what you're feeling. Maybe there's not words. It's a feel sense. You know, I feel this metal lock. Okay, so let's go get a key. Is there somebody out there that might have a key that could have come and unlocked this for you? Is there someone that could have done something different in your childhood? That's one of the exercises. Closing your eyes and thinking, who could have come in differently, protected you, taken care of you? And for me, when I was finally able to do this exercise, which was very hard, I had a beautiful guardian angel, Emily, who really helped me and didn't push me. First one ever to not be like, you don't have to do it. And so I didn't. I put my head down. And in that, all of a sudden, I saw my father, this yellow dapper hat, this suit, coming into the house that we lived in on Long Island. He was already deceased, but he came in, scooped me up. I was a little girl, hung his hat, came upstairs, and there was my brother, and there was my mother, and everybody was softer. And he gave my mother a hug, and he did something really loving and sweet to my brother while they were still holding me. And in that moment, all of the pieces kind of came in, and all of the softness was able to kind of move through my cells. And I felt peace. I felt love and peace and joy and hope. I felt connected. I felt this connected rope, this golden rope of connectivity from me, through my father, to my mother, through my brother, and all around us. There's this rope of love and connection. And as we move in this vibration where we're lifting ourselves in this meditative process, I really do believe we can heal 4 generations up and down. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful teacher of mine taught me this. Whether you believe or not, I just want you to know, in my mother's death, through all of this, I held her hand, we rode the wave, and she sent me this beautiful rainbow right after she passed away. She was able to do something. I was able to be with her, able to tell my brother, stay where you are, I've got this one. You carried us all, you were such a warrior, my brother's strength. I got this. And I really reached to my father in heaven, and he really showed up for me, and that's a whole nother video. I'll chat about that one day. To let him come in the door, scoop me up, I can still feel it now. To let my body just feel what that feels like. To be held here, our pelvis, in our heart, in our rib cage, at our back, right, with where our cranial meets our spine, up to the occipital, right here in the pressure, right in this occipital space. How are you holding yourself? How do you hold? I ask you here in purification, purifying the sound, I say hallelujah.